All right, so haven't posted anything in a few days. Thought I'd give you a little update as to what's going on. So my last video was from Monday. Hell, I don't even remember. Was part of it on my way to pick up my father? I think it probably was. Anyway, I picked him up, took him home. I don't remember what I did, but I eventually, late in the 5 o'clock hour, maybe even right at 6 or so. That was before 6. I went out to the garage to exercise. And, well, long story short, I spent 2 days in the hospital. How's that for a summation? So I've got this heart condition, and still not even really sure. Apparently I have 2 heart conditions, and we're not even sure if my issues are one or the other or both. They put I'm going to call it a temporary fix on the one. It might be permanent and it might not. I'm going to say it's not, only because this is the second time I've had this procedure done. So I'm anticipating in about 10 years, which is how long it's been since I had it done the first time, I may need it again. Maybe not. Maybe if they get the other issue resolved, the second issue won't come back around. Maybe. Maybe not. Sounds like I don't know a lot. Well, guess what? Kind of sounds like the doctors don't know a lot either. I hate to say that because it seems like I've been a patient of some very good doctors. Seems like. All I really know is they're well educated. My cardiologist went to Duke, Penn, and Emory. I'm going to say that's pretty good education. She is, to my understanding, the only doctor that does what she does for the whole Prisma system. So, yeah, kind of thinking that she knows her shit, so to speak. Anyway, the worst, it's hard to say that's the worst because I could have died, I guess. I don't think so, but maybe. The real bummer part of the whole thing was my consecutive days of exercise streak has ended. I couldn't get through my workout Monday. And then between the ambulance, the ER, and the subsequent admission to the hospital, I wasn't going to be able to finish my workout Monday. And I wasn't going to work out Tuesday. And I wasn't going to work out Wednesday. And according to the doctor, I'm not going to work out today either. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Not going to lie. When I posted the Instagram post for that day with black background and white letters saying the streak is over, I shed a tear. I was really, really disappointed. I've done that. I've done my 30-minute minimum of cardio every day for over 9 years, including days and times where I'd had surgeries that you would think would keep you from exercising. 5 foot surgeries. Is all of that in that span of time? Maybe not all 5 of them, but I've had 5 foot surgeries, and some of them were during that 9 years. Shoulder surgery was what initially started the streak. They said after my left shoulder in 2015, they said no exercise for at least a month. And I thought, there's no fucking way. There is no way I can go a month without exercise. At that time, I was 5 or 6 days a week, consistently, every week. I would usually take Sunday off. Occasionally, Saturday and Sunday. Anyway, I almost made it a full month. Right at 4 weeks. July 19th, if you want to look at the calendar, 2015. I started back, and I had told Sarah at that time that when I get back to exercising, I'm never going to miss another day again. That was July of 2015. So the streak is over. I'm bummed. I really honestly haven't decided if I'm going to start another streak again or try to. There is some pressure that comes with committing to something like that I'm not sure I want to do again. Because there were plenty of times that I did exercise and really, really didn't feel like it. Probably didn't necessarily need it. I had COVID twice. Like I said, I had surgeries. I had other procedures that would normally keep somebody from exercising, and I was so committed to that streak that I wouldn't let it deter me. The cynical side of me says, well, what the hell good did it do me? I'm still fat and I still have these heart issues and diabetes and all that good stuff. And then I have to think, how much worse off would I have been without the exercise? And I kind of think that in spite of the external indicators not looking very strong, that there are other areas that have benefited from my consistency with exercise. In fact, if I'm going to be real analytical about it, there may also be areas of my health that would benefit from a day off every now and then. I don't know. Being as impaired, if that's the right word, as I am with my feet, I'm I don't want to say sedentary, but I sit a lot. So I feel like a half hour every day isn't all that bad, and I'm saying every day. I don't know. I don't want to discourage anybody from exercise, because like I said, even if external signs aren't real positive for you, there are internal things going on when you exercise that you're benefiting from, whether you fully realize it by getting on the scale or looking in the mirror. It's not always as obvious. But anyway, there was talk while I was in the hospital that the trip to MUSC would be delayed once again, because they thought they were going to do the procedure that I had done yesterday, and they are not now that it has been done. And I'm okay with that. So as far as things look right now, I'm still gonna go to Charleston next month. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So I am still going to Charleston next month. They are still just calling it a heart cath, and that's okay with me. If anything came from the last 2 days, besides hopefully patching this thing up for a while, it also has eased my nerves about the heart cath. Because frankly, what I went through Monday can't be... What are you doing? Nothing they're going to do down there can be worse than what Monday was. Monday kind of sucked. I felt bad for Sarah. I kind of felt bad for my neighbors, because they all kind of, well, at least a couple of them, saw what was going on. The whole road was blocked off because I live on a small street, and they had a fire truck and an ambulance right there in the middle of the road. So it wasn't any. I was cognizant enough to see a few cars have to stop and turn around. I probably made them real happy. Anyway, yeah, I don't expect anything in Charleston to be worse than Monday. Started around 7 and went on for a little while. Did learn learned a trick that might come in handy if it happens again. But yeah, so Charleston is still a go. The only reason I've made arrangements to not work tomorrow is the instructions that I got yesterday, besides the delaying of any exercise, also included no heavy lifting for a few days. Now, working in the gym doesn't mean I'm in there working out. I'm watching people work out. But on a rare occasion, and it is pretty rare, I have to help somebody with some weight. They might get in over their head a little bit and need some help. Well, it wouldn't be wise for me to offer that help when I'm not 100% and not really shouldn't be lifting anything. So I just felt like maybe I'd go ahead and get somebody to cover my shift. And then I expect next week to kind of get back to normal. I do hate that my incarceration in the hospital, just really for simplicity, just for ease, I didn't want anybody to try to get my father to dialysis yesterday, so he missed a dialysis session. I did consider calling them to ask if he could do Thursday and Saturday. I probably should have done that, but I knew he wouldn't be wild about going on Saturday. And to be honest, I didn't want to take him on a Saturday either. And part of the reason I thought that might be easier too is that I would work Friday and not feel like I had to hurry home and go through all of that rigmarole. And then when I came to the conclusion that I was not going to work Friday, I just thought, well, we'll just do dialysis on Friday and he can miss a day. I haven't noticed any of those telltale signs that he is gone backwards at all from missing one session. I can't imagine that he would. So he'll get back. He'll get back on that schedule tomorrow. I'm out now doing a couple of my Wednesday errands. You already saw me drop off some recycling. Now I'm actually on my way to get some scratch-offs cashed in and get some more. And that'll get me back in the swing of things normally. I feel like I have so much more time to do things today because I know I'm not going to be out in the garage exercising at all. So from that standpoint, yeah, it's kind of nice. The one side effect of my hospitalization was also that I didn't eat. So I ate Monday around 2:30, maybe 2:45. And then I didn't eat again until about 7 a.m. Wednesday morning. And consequently, I lost some weight. And I really, at this point, don't have much of an appetite to even start eating again. I took my pills before I started out on these errands. I took them with just a protein drink. So I ate last night, but I really overate. I shouldn't have eaten as much. I think that was my brain telling me to make up for lost time, and I don't want to. That's not how it works. So I'll explain my next errand to you here when I get back in the truck. All right, so prior to my, let's just call it an episode, I guess, Monday night, Monday morning, I don't remember if this was even brought up in my video from Monday, but Monday morning around 10:30-ish, I had a Holter monitor put on my chest. I don't know how many varieties there are, or what the capabilities normally are of those things, because I had one before and it was a 24-hour monitor. And in 24 hours, they basically didn't see anything. This one, put on by a different cardiologist, was a 48-hour monitor. And needless to say, within about 14 hours, that monitor saw a lot of action. They give you this thing, and this was different than the other one because I was actually able to take it off for a shower. They said it couldn't get wet. They gave me some replacement parts that would change if I were to shower. But I didn't shower. Boy, I wish I could have. I was ready. I was ready for a shower well before last night when I finally got one. Let's see here. So, they were actually. It seemed like some of the doctors were quite excited that I had that on there and that they would be able to see everything that was going on, at least as much as that monitor could pick up and detect and register. So I'm a little curious too to see what kind of information they can get from that thing. But I haven't taken it back to him yet, so that's where I'm going now. I'm going to ride over there. They have a drop-off box right there in the lobby. The other one I wore was, like I said, from a different cardiologist who was at a different location, but they had a drop box in their lobby too, so they're used to people just bringing these things back and dropping them off. So I have a little envelope that it was in, not an envelope, a little plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, and I went ahead and put the 2 pieces of stuff that I didn't use back in there in case they wanted to do that. And damn, I meant to turn right there. And then the monitor itself, and then they give you this little, it's really just an 8.5 by 11 folded up, and it's basically, I think they actually label it your heart monitor diary. So they want you to, anytime you have any of those symptoms, and the list of symptoms, most of them don't apply to me. They weren't things that I was experiencing. Dizziness and lightheaded and faint and blah 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 blah, and that wasn't me. Now I could feel the fluttering and the arrhythmia and whatever you want to call it. What else was on there? I don't know. Sweating and blah blah blah. I don't know. Well, when the episode kicked, I was sweating because I was outside exercising. So that, I didn't feel like that applied. After the monitor, I was driving and going to the grocery store, and that was about all of that. So I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel any of those symptoms. So I wrote down what I was doing at what time, but it wasn't pertinent to, it didn't correlate to any symptoms, put it that way. And yeah, so my journal is, or diary, whatever they call it, is practically empty. But I did go ahead and write down that at 6:15 I started exercising, and I had a little episode, and I got past it, and then at 7 it came back with a vengeance. So like I said, all of that just to say, I'm going to take this monitor over there to them and see what they can tell me or what they can learn from it. They might not tell me anything, but more than likely they'll just put the results or the determinations, excuse me, on my chart, and I can look at it and try to make sense of it. I feel like I got just enough training in school to kind of slowly work my way through some of that terminology, and I still have most of my textbooks from those days. I can refer to them if I need to. Of course, the internet has everything now, but you don't know what's legit and what isn't. But if you have specific terminology you can look up, then it might come in handy. All I've ever found online about this congenital defect, most of it is in regards to newborns. This defect is something normally found, treated, and resolved, done at birth or within the first year. I think what I've heard more lately is normally around 5 or 6 months they'll do cardiac surgery on the newborns and fix the issue, and that's the end of it. Finding medical journal articles on this issue in adults is not easy to come by, and I've probably mentioned this before. One of the articles that I did manage to find actually said in the summary that the percentage of occurrence in adults is very, very rare. I forget the exact percentage, but it's a real small percentage of the population. I want to say it was like 0.02% or something like that. So I guess that's the main reason that they're sending me to Charleston. And from what I gathered talking to the doctor that's going to do the procedure, they are much more used to doing them down there because of I'm actually going to be at the Pediatric Cardiology Center. And if you ever have a child with a heart condition, MUSC's Pediatric Cardiology is one of the top 5 in the country. And that's not from them. That's from independent sources, because I had to find out, you know. And yeah, so as long as they have a big size bed and can get me a 4X gown, I guess we'll be all right. I keep making that joke to everybody. Can you imagine trying to put me in a pediatric hospital gown? They'd have to like start stapling them together to put it around me. But I'm not as big as I used to be. I am just on the verge of getting into the 260s. And I really, honest to God, can't tell you the last time I was in the 260s. When I got my first road bike, I was 295. I had been telling myself that if I got to 300, I'd get the bike. So it took me a few days or a little while to get over there to buy, and I was about 295. I'm pretty sure when I got that. I think the lowest I ever got when I was doing the duathlons was 275. I think that's the lowest I got. So I'm already below that, which is, it's been, well, the model of bike I bought was 2011, and it was well before that I was below that weight wise. So it's been a hot minute since I was even in the 270s, much less 260s. Is probably 2 decades or more. So I'm happy about that. It's funny how motivating a health issue can be when it comes to weight. I guess I just need to grow up and not eat like an asshole. I think most people overeat and don't realize it. You know, it's a real natural thing to put on a little weight as you age. And I think part of that is aging, but part of that is just you get in a rut and you eat what you want, and sometimes you just can't, or you can't eat as much of it. So yeah. Anyway, I'm about 2 blocks now from the hospital, and it might be all you talk to me today. Thanks for watching. I know it's a long one. Sorry.